Well, welcome to Electronic Music Live, Ruby Savage.
Hi, good
Welcome.
to be here.
we finally got everything up and running. All right. I'd love to talk to you about your on today's show, like on today's episode. I want to talk to you about the three projects that you've been working on over the last since the pandemic, and they're super interesting. So, but before we go, and where you're living now in Margate as well, I'd like to learn a bit about that. But first, I'd like to learn about you discovering that you're a shadow DJ and or a shadow artist, and what that means, and explain that to the listeners.
Yeah, I mean, going straight into it.
Yes.
Where to begin? Right. So I guess we'll begin with the day I was born. No. In short, I guess being a shadow artist is this concept that comes up in the book, The Artist Way. Right at the beginning, The Artist Way is a kind of a cult classic self-help book helping creatives who feel blocked or start uninspired to unblock and go and do their passion and follow their dreams, really. And I picked up that book almost 8 years ago, and I swear all my life I've been collecting music, I've been playing music at my own parties, I'm obsessed, I've worked in music, surrounded by DJs, and dabbled with DJing myself, but decided very quickly I was a dancer and I had to be on the dance floor, not with any moves, just I want to be with the people. And so I read this book, chapter 1, because I felt blocked and was like, I need to do something about this. I know I've got something in me. And it was the first chapter was literally often we surround ourselves with what we want to be. We call it a shadow artist. And I just looked at my surroundings and I was like, everybody is a DJ. Literally everyone. And I was like, maybe I want to DJ. And I mean, I had to collect, I have the music. I've been working in music. And it was what was holding me back was this idea that I thought I couldn't do it. That I, for some reason, I don't know, because I was a woman, because I was too old, because I was too young, because I didn't know enough. All these reasons that are just blocks and things that stop us from doing, the things that we love. So then I realized I had to work on some bits and moved through, standing in the shadow as a shadow DJ into the spotlight.
Yeah, so, I mean, sorry, excuse that we've got a dog in the room and he wants to hear. He wants his voice to be heard as well.
Yes, hi dog.
His name's Biggie, and I'm looking after him this week, and he's just being a little bit noisy at the moment. But anyway, all good. So because I thought first of all I've heard of the book, and recently the book came up from a workshop that I was doing. So and then I saw that it's been an inspiration on you, and it helped you with this the Artist Recovery Club, which was the project that it helped inspire that program that you created, so when I don't know much about the book, and so when I saw Shadow Artist, I thought it might be connected to what a lot of people today we're hearing the term of shadow work. And sort of working with traumas and things like that. So I thought there was some kind of correlation there to, is that kind of accurate?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I reckon the book and the sort of the program is very much about healing traumas that stand in our way to, be creative or live a fulfilled life. So I always have to say the course might feel therapeutic, but it's not therapy because I'm not in any way a trained therapist. But the exercises very much look at things like, what did you love doing when you were little? What gave you that sort of pure sense of joy? What is, play? What does play mean to you? It's very much about tapping back into these sort of core essences that make us feel alive, really. And why I started the club was very much in a time when I think we all felt very trapped in pandemic and very scared. There's, just a lot of fear. And that is so connected to creativity.
Yeah.
Because to play, you need to feel safe. So that's really where the club was born. I was like, okay, can I create this space where people feel safe to let out the inner artist and let it play and, find joy again in being creative. So yeah, it is also doing the shadow work and, writing letters to the bullies that told you couldn't do something and stuff like that.
Well, look, these kind of exercises, you mentioned that you're not a trained therapist, but and I don't think you need to be in certain, like in some of this sort of context. I know that there's a fine line between it it pretty much is a form of therapy, like and there's two questions here. Is this something that you want to be doing more of, like where you're sort of helping people sort of come to terms and help them break through to kind of bring the best out of them as a DJ or an artist or in that way? And the other question I wanted to ask is, is it like, that we'll stick with that. Is that something that you want to be doing like more of?
Yeah, I think I do it naturally. All the time. I'm always, to my own detriment sometimes. I always feel like, okay, what is there to improve, or how can I live a more fulfilled life? And I've worked with so many artists over the years, and definitely the area, through labels and through working at the record labels. And for me, the part that makes me feel like most in my purpose is really helping uplifting artists and, not just boosting their confidence, saying like you can do it, but like getting really into like, okay, what are you about? What is your intention in this world? What is it that you want to leave behind? So I think, naturally, I am very intrigued by people's potential, and I believe in people. Yeah. And, if I see talent, it could be so raw. It truly excites me to help people see their own as well, see their own talent and abilities. And sometimes that needs a little push. Very much also born from having to go through that process myself.
That's what I wanted to ask. Like, did this book and similar type programs help you kind of articulate that for your own process and your own development? And now, like, you've seen that it works, and you see that it helped you figure out your purpose and what you want to be doing. So, like, that's kind of the motivation behind this, right? So you've kind of
absolutely
not that it, like, the thing that people realize, like, it's nice to have, not that we don't, like, our traumas and our past that they're meant to happen to us, but it's nice to find some kind of prerequisite from it, like to be able to find a meaning from our lineage, our past, and then bring it
and
to
turn
life.
Turn it into a positive, make it your strength.
So is this something that you do in, like, apart from your own sort of development, but you, with the work that you do with artists? And you mentioned labels. Are you working with any labels now, and you're doing this sort of kind of process with that?
No, I've stopped working with labels. I'm just doing this for myself now. I wanted to be radically independent. It's I just also want to point out that it's not just for artists. I work, in fact, I think more than anything, with people that work in the creative industry, who, might feel like they're giving away that a lot of their art and creative juices to, whether it's a brand or another company, and they have like something that they want to, develop themselves. Again, that's where that element of shadow artist is. Sometimes it's easier to do it for somebody else, but you might feel sort of frustrated because you're like, I know I've got something in me too. So it's not just for us, it's also for creators that work in the creative industry, but also just people who are interested in exploring, their creative side. And because I truly believe that doing this work, like any kind of healing work, just has a positive effect across the board in your life. So many people who come and do the course are like, actually, it's made my work so much better, just their day job. And for us, it might be like, you know what, it's a space where I can connect with other artists. I think a lot of people, or a lot of artists think, and even people, that it's a very solitary existence. And, you have to protect your art because it's, it's competitive. And actually what we find is that artists do way better when they work together, when they're part of a dynamic, community. So there's that element. And there's just people that want to explore and, have a bit of fun and find play, bring more play and exploration back in their life. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think you've really made a good point there about isolation, because a lot of working, and I mean, even myself, my music career existence, a big part of it is I've worked alone. And you do work on projects with other people, but essentially you're going back to your office and you're back by yourself and you're alone. And so I think even during the pandemic, that was like huge for me. Like it was like on steroids, because we were all in isolation, right? So
it was tough.
and now things are opening up. We're like, dipping our toes back into the world again, and it's like, oh shit, like how do I do that again? So I think, while everyone's posting all these amazing things that are happening in Ibiza and all these things right now, but I think there's a lot of people out there that are struggling and that are struggling.
Me, yes.
Yeah. So your program now, that's how I came across. Like I was just like, I've got to talk to you because this is similar kind of work that I'm doing myself, So and that's what I want to do with this podcast, is like share these kind of stories and these conversations, because I don't think we have enough of this kind of support in the music industry, and it's becoming normalized now. It's becoming more of a thing, and so can you tell me a little bit about the program? Like, I'd love to learn a bit more about it. I read it on the site. Yeah.
No, totally. So completed 4 rounds of the program in the past year and a half. So done a lot. Yeah. People sign up. I asked them to have the Artist Way book as sort of the thread, and just come with open intentions, and they join for 12 weeks, and I guide them through the 12 weeks of that course process. And each week we meet up. We might do some group exercises that are like tools that help like build the tools to work through creative block. I recap some of the important bits of that week's like reading. And then we do breakout groups where people kind of split into smaller groups and talk about their week. And I think that's really where the value lies. Everybody has their own processes on their own time, and it helps really to hear that from other people. And what I find is that it's my job to like create the most safe space where people feel, comfortable and safe to open up. And when that is reached, it really does create a really special bond and intimate place where, everything sort of gets shared, and it really helps people with like opening up to their creative desires. And it also helps people to keep going, because it's one of these books it's one of these things that's kind of hard to stick to. You're like, right, I'm going to start this. And by week 3, 4, you're like, yeah. And when you're in a group, constantly somebody will pull you back in. and remind you to stay on it. And so there's the accountability element is really, really essential. And I think also what's specific about the group is that the book was written like in the late 80s, published in the early 90s. It's a little bit dated. As much as the core is, I think, timeless and universal, the examples and even the context is dated. So I bring in a lot of like references to, modern day life, which is very different. There was no social media when this book was written. So we actually need a chapter 13 to include, because that could be some
that's a whole kind of other can of worms.
Yeah, exactly. But we talk a lot about it, and I mentioned, so like, I can reference all that. So yeah, people come and it's a 12-week process, and then beyond it, we stay in touch, and alongside we sometimes do like meetups. People form their own little friend groups and start doing things, and people start working together. So yeah, it becomes a sort of really special community.
I love it.
Space.
It's great.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love that whole, and I think people take it for granted how much like being in community, that aside from accountability, there's this especially when you're working on stuff like on yourself, and those parts of you come up that want you to resist and bring you back to what's comfortable. So when you're in that kind of cohort kind of environment, there's that regulation going on. It helps you move forward, and I find, and I've seen that like even in my own process. And I think and for me now, I love to create a space where I'm able to do this. And even these podcasts, like I find being therapeutic. I'm talking to people all the time, exchanging. And when I get off, I'm buzzing, like I feel really I feel like shit's happening,
Yeah. No, talking is great. It's how we feel after the sessions. You're just like, whoa. Yeah, you don't feel less, you feel less alone, you feel inspired, you feel connected. And community gets thrown around a lot, and but it is really important, and it is quite hard to create it in this day and age, because I think there's a lot of things that make us feel like it's community, or that is told, as Facebook is called a community, the Facebook community is like, and they are, but are they really tapping into the kind of connections that we need, the sort of the more in-depth connections? And I think that's something that's missing, or that people are craving and desiring, and just also having the consistency of seeing people on a weekly basis and investing in yourself to explore. And I think that's maybe goes back to like my personal forever, interest. Is like, I feel like it's just the human psyche, and like our being is just an endless like well to explore. And I've always been fascinated by that and interested in that like element of psychology. So I think people find, because like the words like connection and like and it's all woo woo, and they get thrown off by it. But like if we get neuroscience on this, like there's data that supports this, like that there is science behind this as well. People, I think people are becoming more open to it, but like human beings need connection. Like it's just they need connection. Yes.
Well, I can talk for hours with this stuff with you. I know,
me too. No, but totally. And I think connection. So, and I think, on the one hand, I'm like, I'm doing this course and it's so different from like the DJing, but for me, it's also so connected, because it's just another way of bringing people together and finding a space where we can commune and be and explore being, living in this mad world. Really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I saw that you did this this amazing project in Atlanta. Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah.
How did that come about? That looks dope.
Yeah, it's wicked. So that's an online exhibition called The Future Happened.
I love the name.
Future Happened, which I co-curated with incredible group of people. And we basically got in touch and what was it? Probably like August 2020. I feel like I need to look it up because I'm like, I want to make sure I get the, was it? Hold on.
You're right.
Yeah.
I think I've got it somewhere here too in front of me.
Oh my God.
2021.
I'm so, you know, like everything was just zapped. I'm just like, when was that happening? Oh, I'm like everything. Anyway.
Did you end up going to the States for it though? Like,
It was
no, right.
The whole project was done over Zoom.
Wow.
So right. Lawrence Azarad, incredible creative director. He's been designing record sleeves, winning Grammys for designing record sleeves. I met him in London. That must have been like the beginning of 2020. We were both on.
That name sounds familiar.
He's a G. There's a lot of talks as well.
Okay. I'll check him out.
But yeah, so before I did Artist Recovery Club, I worked at Brownswood and was in charge of all the artwork and doing the art direction and commissioning all the artists. And so I was called on. That's how we met on a talk, and we stayed in touch. And then pandemic happened, and Lawrence reached out. Yeah, it must have been like August 2020. And he said, we're doing a project, or I'm doing a project. Do you want to get involved? And I was like, this sounds amazing. And yeah, we just built on this concept of creating, I guess, a sort of visual archive of design, like absolute, excellent design projects in music that we felt were also projects that were pushing forward change in the world. Because we were like living, summer 2020 was obviously one of the most turbulent times of uprising. And so it felt really fitting. I mean, I think it's something I've always been very involved and concerned with, is uplifting the peoples. And so, yeah, we set out and started connecting with incredible artists and the designers behind the projects who, put together, just created these incredible projects, sometimes visual diaries, or just, artworks for that translated the vision of these musicians and bands. So yeah, we had a lot of fun creating The Future Happened. It's still up, I think, futurehappened.org, and you can kind of click through different projects and read a lot about it, and there's a lot there. So yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed that. And for me, it was like the perfect space to like bring together what I love. Like, I'm very visual, I'm also very sonic.
Are there plans for it to become a physical event?
I think it was always going to be an online event. It was always going to be an online show, even before the pandemic happened. Then when we worked on it, there was talks like, oh, can we make this, like a physical space? But I don't know of any further movements on that front, unfortunately. But it could be a book as well, I reckon. Be an amazing book. Yeah. I
mean, I think there's a lot of things that occurred during the pandemic, of like, projects that happened as a result of what was happening. And there'd be great aside, like to document them in a way where we remember, this time in history. I mean, what Worldwide FM did, they were onto it. Like, they brought out that book of 2020.
Yeah.
Like, it's like
got it there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah,
on.
I've got it.
So I think, this is going to be going down in history. That there's I was involved in a couple online projects as well. And I think, we're all trying to navigate some kind of way to keep things moving and keep ourselves sane. And some really good things came out from that. I mean, despite how bleak and terrible time it was, and I think I'd like to be positive and feel that these next 10 years are going to be pretty amazing. And I believe that the human consciousness has leveled up in some way, and I'd like to think that what's going to be coming out. Yeah, exactly.
No, I'm so with you. It's so exciting. And also I was thinking a lot in the pandemic. I was like, oh my God, just think about all the music that's being made right now, and all the new experiences that are being translated into projects and art projects. Yeah, really, really excited. And I agree, a lot more consciousness, the human psyche, which is very welcome.
Yeah. I mean, look, you can already see it now, because we're all sort of in our bunkers. Everyone's kind of was focusing on the things that we were putting aside, and it's just it's all this great stuff is and we haven't even touched the tip of the iceberg yet. There's just all this things are happening now, and all this great stuff that's just already starting. Tell me about Don't Be a Creep.
Yeah. Another project.
Yes.
So
busy.
Don't be. I know. Don't Be a Creep is very much a passion project that started quite a while ago, maybe 5-6 years ago. I just made a bunch of t-shirts based on this Bush Tetris song called Too Many Creeps. And it was right around the time that I really started DJing a lot more. And I felt like I've been out, honestly, since I'm a teenager. I've been on dance floors, and you kind of just, then there's creeps. You kind of try and navigate it best you can, kind of deal with it. But when I started DJing more, I think, responsible for the vibe across the board, not just the music. I was I want to make sure people have a good time. So I really started noticing also just creepy behavior, people coming into dudes coming into the booth and trying to chat me up. I'm literally working. So it just really highlighted it, and sort of born from a frustration from that. I was I'm making this t-shirt, screen printed a couple, gave them away, sold a couple. And then at the time I was working at Brownswood, and the Worldwide FM office was also, the station was in the same office. And they were we really need a policy poster because so many people coming in and out. It's quite an intimate space. So I was let's turn the t-shirt, the logo, the Don't Be a Creep logo, into policy posters. So we started with that. I think that was the next step. And then from there, I was really just interested, and I thought this is something that could just be a poster in any club or music venue. And the idea behind it is just a gentle reminder to not be a creep.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is that the issue of creepy behavior, of harassment, is huge. And honestly, it makes me it's just so upsetting that how much of it there is. And I am seeing so many different, initiatives coming together to work on this problem. And I'm very I feel the contribution that Don't Be a Creep gives is we want to be that sort of reminder in the back of people's heads, wait, is this creepy behavior? Just a self-check, is this cool or not? And so we go on to create these really cool visual campaigns. Like I said earlier, I'm a visual person. The power of a bit of power of advertising. I team up with Maud Churchill, who's an incredible copywriter, and has worked in like marketing and branding for years. And together we basically just use our sort of expertise in branding to apply to get this message out. And yeah, we work with festivals each summer, creating campaigns that are like visually like captivating. You're like, whoa, I want to know what that artwork is about. And through that way, get people in on the message. So yeah, that's Don't Be a Creep.
Is there any kind of like program or something that you want to bring into this space? Because, you know, like, and not to excuse it, but we can link it to males with trauma and that don't know how to behave in public, and like this sort of, you know, it's not acceptable behavior, but like to get to the core of the issues that are behind it from being taught or learned that it is acceptable behavior. How do we untangle that? You know, like how do we get to and you know, taking with like you're doing this other program, the artist recovery, like is there room to create another program to heal men with like how to behave in public? You know?
Yes, come here, I've got the whip ready. No, I think that's a really valid point. And I mean, for me, going back to when I started Don't Be a Creep, we did the t-shirts, what I absolutely loved the most about it is that I was wearing a t-shirt and it created conversation. It created a dialogue. And I think, you know, so much of healing starts with like just starting to talk about it. And I think a lot of, you know, around harassment it becomes taboo and it's a bit dirty, it's a bit dodgy, don't want to be associated with it. And actually we need to bring it to light. Yeah. It needs to be brought to light. So yeah, I think education is wildly important. And, you know, yeah, having the conversation. So like one of the elements that Don't Be a Creep, what we like to do is like do panels, and we bring in, you know, people from all different parts of nightlife and music scenes. And so you get a conversation between a promoter, an artist, like a DJ, maybe somebody from security, a venue owner. And because what happens a lot is that people are like, oh no, but security that day. It's like, no, we are a music community. We're all responsible for making this a place that is safe for everyone and comfortable and fun. And not just for a couple, like leaving a couple of people out. So yeah, we really focus on seeing and really feeling it, that you're part of music community. And, you know, there's many ways to like this. I mean, it's a huge problem, and it's not just in music and nightlife. That's just a space that I know. But I think creepy behavior can start in the office with some comments that are like, oh yeah, like a little sort of side comments that seems innocent, but take that person after work into a pub with some drinks, goes to the club, that comment then might become a physical, you know, expression. Yeah. And so I think it's a culture we live in that is extremely sexist, and, you know, harassment is rife, and it's, yeah, something that needs to be addressed in all parts of like society. We happen to do it in music and nightlife because it's what we know. And yeah, I can see it becoming a program. I don't know if it's something I would do. I don't know if I'm equipped to do it, but I'm here to, at least for me,
plant the seeds.
Planting the seeds. And like, you know, I do think a lot of people, because like you say, like there's, you know, for a lot, it's just what we've been learned or taught is okay. And it's just reminding people and rejigging. It's like, no, it's not okay. And just having that. So I think a lot of people just need that reminder that it's not okay. Yeah. And because they already know. And for the real deep work, the deep creeps, that requires more conversation. And yeah, I think it's really important. And look, without just pointing the finger at males, I think
across the board. Like I think it's something that people should know just in general, like on how to kind of be aware of that kind of behavior and respecting people's space and their preferences, their gender, their all these sort of things that are becoming more and more. There's a light being shined on this stuff, and it hasn't and I feel like this is also another thing that we could say about COVID. That this is another part of that human consciousness experience, or that people are becoming more aware of these kind of subjects or this kind of conversation, and it seems like the needle's really jumped a lot forward, and there's a lot more awareness on it, which is a great thing. I think I'd love to see a Ruby Savage. I support it.
Not be a creep. How not to be a creep? Now, I think I think about this a lot, and I think we've gone through a couple of decades of trying to be boxed into boxes, and what that takes away is individualism. As much as we've lived in this era where it's all about individualism, we've also been trying to just algorithms, everything's based on sort of
data.
And what we're realizing is data, exact data we say here. I always said data. Data, babes, it's data. No joking. You can say data. It's that we're realizing we're individual. Everybody's an individual. Everybody's if we count out one voice, we might as well count all of them. So I get that for ease. Governments, companies, businesses have to create boxes. Okay, that's that target. But if you rule out any one voice, you're saying that we're not individuals, and we have to acknowledge that we're all individuals if we want to feel heard, if we want to, and we can still partake in group and societal activities, and adjust to those to fit in, or to work together. I guess not even fitting in. It's about just living alongside each other. But we have to. I feel there is space to be an individual with your own preferences, needs, everything within the group. Yes. But we have to allow for that space, and we have to acknowledge that when people in groups are hurt in any way or disadvantaged, that's not okay. That affects us as a whole community.
Yeah. I think I feel like people are they're still definitely I think now that there's more conversations happening, there are still people that are it's new to them as well, these kind of conversations, and they're like anything, when you're learning something new, there's barriers and things that need to break and comfort zones, and but it's good to see that there's more conversation and there's more things that are supporting it. Yeah.
And we always say that's actually, we always say
go ahead.
Yeah, we want to call people in. We don't want to call people out.
Yeah.
So, it's about calling people in and let's have this conversation. Yeah, they might be painful and difficult and awkward, but we're not about cancelling people, we're about actually, how can we move forward from this? Yeah,
it does, just because, and I think it goes for both sides, just because you it's new or you don't know anything about it doesn't make it wrong. It's exactly. About trying to have an open mind and I think just because someone's got a different opinion of something, it doesn't make it wrong. It's just they've got an opinion and they're entitled to that opinion, and let's not make them wrong for having that opinion or their belief or identity or whatever. It's no, two truths can be true. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So I was just gonna ask you about your move from, because you're living in Margate, and it sounds beautiful. Tell me a bit about Margate and the scene that's happening there.
Yeah, another result of the pandemic. I mean, I lived in London for 15 years almost and loved every second of it. But the quality of life at one point just hit me that I was like, I need more. And I had a strong desire to live by the sea. It's really, it just gives me life. And yeah, London, I couldn't live the way I wanted to live in London. So I decided to move to Margate, which was last summer, and found there is like a super, super dope, thriving, creative community here. It's a bit, I feel like a lot of the people that I connect with here are like from London who are like, I need more space. They're artists, they're creatives, collectors. I mean, try and pay rent in London to, just house your records. Gets a bit tough, or even to make noise or create work. So yeah, a lot of us are here because we just wanted space. And it's about just over an hour outside of London. So I dip into London all the time. I DJ there, and it's close enough, but you can step out and be here.
Are there nice restaurants and cafes?
Oh, it's such a foodie town. Yeah, it's it really
nice.
Is though. It's like, yeah, because Londoners want nice food, nice things.
Yeah.
It's
just quietly.
It's amazing.
Yes.
But yeah, no, there's good food. I mean, we're still in the UK, so I know Australia, like it's not gonna touch that. But what's also amazing here, and I have to highlight this because it's something that's really dear to me, and I think it's a really important thing to mention, is that I think for the longest time, like being mixed, being Black in this world, I always felt quite like alien outside the city. And then I also, during lockdown, through Flock Together, which is a bird watching community for Black and brown people of color.
Wow.
We're just in nature. Yeah, it's amazing.
That sounds cool.
Check it out. It's amazing. And I was doing that and I was like, I love nature. And I was like, but I always felt like, but I don't belong in nature. I belong in the city. And then I got pissed and I was like, why do I feel that? Like, why can't I enjoy nature? And that's very much what Flock Together is about as well. And so I was like, okay, well, if I want to live by the sea, I don't want to just be in a, town with just a very homogenous culture, or just like sort of British white scene. Like I need a mix. And I knew one person in Margate who is mixed as well. And I called her, I was like, so what's the deal? Like, you're Black, you're out there, like, what's going on? Is it safe? Because you have to ask these questions. Is it safe? I'm going to feel racism every day. Racism's everywhere, but it can be really intense when you leave a city. And he was like, well, have you heard of People Them Collective? And I was like, no, what's that? And it's basically a Black Lives, or they say Black Dreams Matter organization who have been advocating for people of color for the past couple of years here, and doing great work and bringing it together. So it's really just pulling in such great energy, creating a much more diverse programming of like, whether it's people's minds to like, the music that gets put on here, to social events. It's really creating such an amazing dynamic. And yes, there's racism everywhere in the world, but having that around makes me feel a lot safer, and this is quite inspiring as well. So yeah, that's Margate.
And so no plans to go back to Amsterdam?
Ooh.
Because Amsterdam's such a vibrant place as well, and there's like all these great artists out that way as well. And a lot of people moving there to be amongst it and be in the communities that are there. And like people from all over Europe and the States moved there. It's quite central and quite a hub for the music industry. So have you thought about, like, would that be a chapter? Or?
I mean, I lived there until I was like 23. I was deep in the music scene. I still have my like very tight connections and bonds with Amsterdam, and I literally go there at least once or twice a year. Okay. Maybe even more before the pandemic. So I mean, it's it's a hop skip.
Yeah.
Probably now I'm as close to Amsterdam as I am to London. It's literally like just over the sea. So I still feel quite connected. If I want to live there, I don't know. I think for me, culturally, personally, London is the place, like, for me. However, I also love climate and good food. And if I could live in Melbourne, Australia, I would in a heartbeat.
Wow. Melbourne.
Yeah, I love it there. Right, and for me, it's like best. Like, if we're talking about all the things that is exciting about Amsterdam, that's what Melbourne is for me. Like, there's so much great music, such good food, amazing climate. It's a beautiful city. I feel deeply connected with that place, with that city.
You were there recently?
Yeah, I spent all summer there. So I went to your summer. Yeah, I was there for 3-4 months.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I visited in January for about a week. Loved it. It's been years since I've been there because I've only just moved back to Australia about a year ago. So, God, I can't even remember the last time I made it to Melbourne, apart from this trip, obviously now. But I loved it. Absolutely loved it. It's a great town. Great town. So, tell the listeners where they can find Ruby Savage online. Like, where's the best place to find you?
Where's the best? I would always say, come and find me at a club if I'm playing music. That's, come find me in real life. But if you want to keep up to date on that, I guess go to my Instagram. It's Ruby Sounds. There is a website, rubysavage.com, that just has more info. And also, if you want to know more about Arts Recovery Club, there'll also be a link to Don't Be a Creep on there. So if you want to get more info on that, it's all up there. And I would say Instagram is the most sort of regular updates. And come to a club near you if I'm there.
I really loved our conversation. It was really great to get acquainted and chat with you and learn more about you and sharing what you're up to and these amazing projects that you've been doing. So looking forward to getting it out there and sharing it. So thank you so much for
have a beautiful day, and thank you for listening to to this conversation.
Thank you.